Good afternoon, family. We're here today to kind of touch bases with you on farm and ranch insurance. You may ask, why does it matter? Well, for me, like many of you, a farm and a ranch is a dream. It may have started with grandparents, parents that have been passed down to your son or daughters. For me, something that I can pass on down to my son, on down to my grandchildren. So that farm is a dream, and you spend your life building it, whether it may be barns, farm structures, homes, herd, equipment. All of that is incorporated into that dream for what you want to do. With that comes a chance of losing it, whether it be due to fire, farm liability claims, weather-related incidents, accidents. All those things can happen. So that's what makes farm and ranch insurance so imperative in today's world for the success and the livelihood of that farm to be able to continue to be passed on to generations to come. There are many types of farms. What makes it so diverse? The reason the policies are so diverse, there's so many endorsements to be added to the farms, is because each and every farm is different. There are no two that I have seen that are just alike. With that being said, we're going to go over some things today that'll help to educate you on farm and ranch, the coverages, why it's so important to you and to your family. We're not going to be carrier specific. We have many carriers that we can go to, depending on the type farm of which one kind of fits their sweet spot for the best. Today, a lot that we see come in will be a homeowner's policy, and they'll say, well, I have horses or I have a hobby farm or whatever. I have my policy written with a homeowner's and I have a farm liability policy. And you can certainly do that. And sometimes we do that. However, what you really have to ask yourself and look into is, if I'm going to cover under a home policy and I want coverages for multiple structures or for equipment or livestock, if you look at that, you're going to take one policy, the home policy. Then you're going to start doing an inland marine policy for your equipment. You're going to have a farm liability policy for the farm. You're going to have a umbrella policy. We're going to have a policy perhaps for a livestock policy or a herd policy. And then we may have a policy over here if we're doing hay, that type thing, lease land. We may have to have that. A lot of times people lease land, they'll want you to cover it on your insurance policy. And it certainly can be done that way, but the beauty of a farm policy is, or a true farm or a commercial farm policy, is that you actually can take, easiest way to keep it in mind is if it's designed to go down the road or to be tagged, that's farm auto. If it's not designed to be tagged or to go down the road, that would be up under a farm policy. So you really, with a farm policy, can write two policies, a farm and a farm auto, and cover all of your assets that you want covered within those two policies. Maybe under a personal policy, you have that home, you have the home, personal auto, you have a side-by-side or a four-wheeler or a boat. All of that is going to be 5 policies, and then we've got a tractor and all equipment policy over here in herd. So 7 policies there that you're writing. Most of the time, each time you write a policy, you're going to have a liability that's going to be included within that policy. So if you're just looking at a homeowners versus a farm policy just to cover the home, your homeowners is definitely your better way to go premium wise. However, if you're looking at adding all these other policies on the outside of that homeowner's policy or that personal auto policy, then the farm policy can be much more advantageous to you because you can put them all up under that one policy. So essentially with a farm, you could have a farm and a farm auto. You're only looking at 2 liability portions into that premium there. So it could be much cheaper for you premium with substantial amounts of coverage added to the farm policy that cannot be added to the home. So let's take a few points and look at it. Since we're on home, let's look at a home. So if you've got home on a homeowner's, you're going to have coverage A, which is home, B, other structure, C, personal property. You're not going to have any coverage under that home for farm personal property. You're not going to be able to add any equipment to that homeowner's policy. Your other structures coverage or your B coverage in that homeowner's policy most of the time is going to come with a preset distance, meaning With most carriers, you may have 100 feet, 125, 150 feet. That other structure has to be within the home, distance from the home, from the nearest 2 point, for it to be considered other structures. The other thing to keep in mind is you can't have farming activities or business activities in a other structure for a home on most of your homeowner policies or carriers. Now, does that mean you can't have incidental stuff like you hear all the time? Well, if you've got less than 4 stalls, or if you don't have more than 12 bags of feed, or if you don't have any hay storage, and that is true with some carriers. However, you're not going to have extensions to farm personal property, and if it's over that 100, 125, or 150 feet, depending on carrier, then most likely there's not going to be coverages there. Now, I'm not an adjuster. I can't tell you definitively, but I can tell you what the policies say. Looking at that home, if you get that coverage on a farm personal property, your farm properties or your farm structures, there's no distance. It doesn't matter how far from the home. They can be at a different location or a different state. Doesn't matter. As long as that property is listed on the home policy within the declarations page. You can jump state lines for liability on land. You can have just liability or structures. You can have multiple homes. Where with a homeowner's policy, if you've got 2 to 3 homes, you would have to have a policy for each one. On a farm policy, that's not the case. You can list multiple homes, multiple farm structures, multiple pieces of equipment, multiple farm personal property items. If it's tools, you got a welder, you've got hay, you can cover your hay in stack or your grain in silos. You can cover those silos. You can cover pivots. You can cover, for you row crop farmers, you can cover the crop themselves most times. You can add that crop, which is very, as far as row crop, very instrumental to them to be able to plant for the next season. So your farm is very diverse, your farm policies. They cover many aspects of farm, many endorsements that can be added to each. We feel like that it's going to be better to break them down for you, and we will do that. We just wanted to give you a base today with farm and ranch, and why not? So if you've spent that dream, or you spent 20 years or 30 years building that dream, why not protect it? Now, what we do here at Insured Family is we actually take it and break it down from the top to the bottom, what you currently have. We look at your exposures of what you have, and then we bring our best recommendation to you. Now, you certainly can make changes. I've got carriers, and myself even, I have a farm structure that's on my policy that I have excluded. That's perfectly fine. If you want to self-insure, carriers don't mind. We just want to list it on the policy and exclude it. So you don't have to cover that structure or that particular building that you want covered, whether it be a silo or whatever, but there certainly is that option there. Farms are one of the most important industries in our country and our world. In fact, if it wasn't for our row crop farmers, there would be no groceries, vegetables in the store. There would be nothing to export for the other countries. So we have to protect that. That's why insurance is imperative to us as farm and ranch owners to be able to offset the risk of that substantial loss that could be catastrophic and devastating to our farm and ranch, not only for our generation, but for the generation to inherit past us. That would help protect against those things such as weather loss, liability claims. Say you've got horses. You say, well, I may just have a hobby farm and have horses. What if that horse gets out and damages somebody else's property? Or if it gets out in the road and gets run over, that horse or that cow. So there's definitely claims there. And as we had said earlier, there's no 2 farms that are identical. They're all a little different. So our farm policies are going to be customized to each farm owner or insured within our agency. I hope some of these things help you with farm. Be glad to talk with you in more detail on your particular instance. And we're going to go into tomorrow with equine farms, and we'll give you some of the endorsements that you can add to those equine exposure farms. And then we'll obviously do cattle the next day and probably go into row crop from there, poultry farms. So Y'all stay tuned. And again, hope these videos are helping you. We're trying to put them out to just kind of educate you on the benefits and the endorsements that are available. You guys hit that like, that share, and that follow button. Let's get this out there, and let's make all of our farm and ranch community a better place. God bless you, and thank you.